All right. I think we're live here. Okay, so I have tried multiple times to do it in Google Classroom, and it won't let me get past 8 minutes. I have no idea what's on. It is driving me crazy. But anyhow, all right. So we'll try this for now and see if it works. All right. So AP exam. Again, their first video is 47 minutes long. We'll try to cut that down to a manageable amount of time here. Okay, but let's start out. Okay, so a couple of things. May 3rd is the exam date. Make sure we know that at noon. I thought he made kind of a cool reference here. You can't cram to get healthy. You can't cram to get fit. Just like you can't cram to pass the AP exam. Okay, so if you wait to the last minute to try to all of a sudden lose weight, or you wait to the last minute to all of a sudden look really fit, it's not going to work. That takes a lot of time. Okay, and it's the same thing with the AP exam. So you should be using distributed practice, right? Across time, you should be using the spacing effect, ever so often to prepare for this exam. Okay, so make sure just from now, April 20th until May 3rd, just 10 to 15, 20 minutes a night will go a long, long way. You don't want to have to wait to review all of these, 10 different units of prep. You don't have to wait all that time, or you don't have to wait to the last minute to do all of that. Okay. So let's try to make sure we're reviewing just, again, 10, 15, 20 minutes every night, morning, afternoon, whatever it might be. Okay. Now, he talked about, to start off with, he talked about, up bottom up processing, top down processing, and with bottom up processing, you're starting from the bottom to work your way up towards a finished product, whatever, a picture or a schema. Okay, so his example was, imagine doing a puzzle without knowing what the puzzle is, without having the top to the box. So you have all these small details, and you've got to fit them together, and then voila, bada boom, bada bing, it's a sailboat. I had no idea I was making a sailboat. Whereas top down is you have the picture of the sailboat, you know what it is, and you have to work your way down to find all these details that make that schema work, that makes it fit together. Okay, now getting into the perspectives. First one we went over is biological. Remember, anything with the brain, anything with DNA, anything with your genetic code, parts of the brain, lobes, the central nervous system, the endocrine system. Okay, so hormones, all that kind of stuff, your neurotransmitters. Okay, so any kind of issue or disorder you have is something with the brain. It's some kind of problem with the brain. It could be a brain injury. It could be issues with neurotransmitters, a surplus or a lack, a shortage of them. It could be hormonal issues that are at play. Okay, so it is something with the brain function. It is something with the central nervous system. Okay, now treatments will almost always be medicine. Remember, we have agonists, we have antagonists. So we have agonists that can help neurotransmitters do what they're supposed to be doing. And if there's too many antagonists, or sorry, too many neurotransmitter functions going on, you're going to use antagonists to slow that down. Okay, so a common question he has here is, why are you not studying for the AP exam? So looking at you, why are you not studying for the AP exam? Well, biological psych would say you're not doing that because you're experiencing hormonal issues that are throwing off your life. Okay, or maybe there's some kind of errors in the brain functions right now. Maybe you had a concussion and there's some kind of temporary damage to your brain. Okay, maybe you have an excess of neurotransmitters and it's causing you not to be able to focus and pay attention. Maybe you have a shortage of certain neurotransmitters, not enough dopamine, not enough serotonin, and it's causing you to have memory loss, or it's causing you to be less motivated. Then they went to cognitive psych. Remember, that's all about thinking and thoughts and the thought process. Disorders here, you're choosing the wrong thoughts. You're having inappropriate beliefs. You're making poor decisions. Okay, there's something cognitively wrong with you, and it's leading to poor thoughts and poor decision making. Okay. Now with that, treatment is going to be instead of medication, it's going to be more talk therapy. It's going to be more cognitive behavioral therapy, trying to get you to have the right thoughts during the right times, right? And certain situations that arise and you have trouble navigating those and making proper decisions. They're going to try to counsel you through those kind of situations. Why are you not studying? Again, it's all about your thoughts, right? So you think that studying won't help. Okay. Or maybe you think that you don't need studying, that you're good as it is. Or maybe you think something else right now is more important than preparing for that AP exam. Sociocultural, something around you is impacting you. Your peers, your family, your social settings, your school, your workplace. Those are impacting you. And whatever the impact is, it's causing some kind of disorder. Okay, so the peer pressure is leading to very poor decisions. Peer pressure is leading to disorders and mental health issues that you're having, or maybe disorders, or sorry, maybe again, your social setting is putting expectations on you that aren't best for your life, or maybe you're putting so much, as the smart kid in class or the high achiever, you have so much stress and pressure on you that it's leading to mental health issues. Okay, treatment is going to be conditioning practices. Again, something around you. It could be peer pressure. When you experience peer pressure, have you thought about doing this, or this? Okay, as you are struggling with stress in your life because you have a lot of pressure put on you by your teachers or your peers, have you thought about doing this, and this? Okay, so conditioning practices, cognitive behavioral therapy, stuff like that. Life counseling. Again, in certain situations, they're trying to help you navigate, the issues there. Why aren't you studying? And maybe the social surrounding says it's not important. Maybe you go to a school that doesn't value success, that doesn't talk about the AP exams a lot. It's a school that isn't very high achieving. So if you don't pass the AP exam, it's really not that big of a deal. Maybe the friends that you have are also not preparing. Okay, so you don't think you need to prepare because your friends aren't preparing. Maybe the role that you have in your society is the role of the underachiever, right? The expectation is not that you're going to pass. You have a C- in class, or you've never passed an AP exam before. And so why would I prepare for this one? Because my role, my identity says I'm not a high achieving student. Okay. Going on, psychodynamic, psychoanalytic. Remember, you got to think about Freud. You got to think about the unconscious. You got to think about repressing, traumatic thoughts or memories. Disorders. It's going to come something, from the unconscious, right? It could be very inappropriate unconscious desires that you have. It could be early childhood traumatic experiences that you've, put back into your unconscious. Okay, so there's probably something in the unconscious that is creating your disorder. You could have something conscious, these very dark desires. Maybe they're sexual, maybe they're violent, but very dark desires that are inappropriate. Society says, no, you can't do that. And you are at a constant state of conflict, and that created a disorder. Treatment is going to be psychoanalysis. We know that to be free association. That Freud and Freudians, they believed in free association. They believed in trying to get you to open up. It could be using those Rorschach ink blots. It could be journaling. It could be word associations. But they're going to try to get you to open up and to break down barriers. And that way, you are freely talking about issues at hand, and they can help you from there. How would a psychoanalytic, psychologist explain why you are not studying? Probably some kind of unconscious, issue is at play. Maybe you've had bad experiences with previous AP exams. Maybe you've had bad experiences in school. Period. Maybe you have an ACT and SAT score that was embarrassing to you, was disappointing to you, and now that's manifesting itself. Or maybe you're using incorrect, use of defense mechanisms. Okay, maybe you're doing rationalization, right? You're kind of scared, you're nervous about this, you're not prepared, or you don't think you're prepared. And so you're not going to study. That way, when you get back what you think is going to be a bad grade, you're going to get a 1 or a 2 and you're not going to pass. That way you can at least say, well, at least I didn't try, right? Now you can't judge me. Now you can't criticize me because I didn't even try. I didn't even prepare. Okay. Or maybe it's projection. Maybe you're saying the teacher didn't do a good job. The AP, the College Board didn't do a good job making the test. The questions didn't make sense. And because that kind of stuff you can do, you're not going to study because you can always make an excuse. Okay. Or maybe it's regression. Maybe you came into high school and you were immature as a freshman, and you didn't try very hard, and you didn't really care about your grades. Your sophomore year got better. Your junior year got better. Your senior year got better. But now you're a few weeks away from graduation, and you got senioritis, and you're not trying as hard anymore. Okay. And you can use that as an excuse, a defense mechanism if you don't pass. Humanistic, got to know Carl Rogers. You got to know Abraham Maslow. Got to know self-actualization. Got to know positive regard, right? Having a positive regard, treating people without judgment, without criticism. Disorders, something is happening around you that is blocking your personal growth, correct? There's probably stress in your life. There's people in your life. There are situations in your life that are not allowing you to succeed, that are not allowing you to be the best version of yourself. Okay. We have to identify those barriers and quote unquote break them down. And how you do that? I mean, you talk to people, you talk about your issues, you talk about your barriers, you talk about people in life that are not good for you. You talk about working conditions or learning environments that are not good for you, and they will counsel you. They will try to help you, be better in those scenarios, and maybe cut people out of your life. Treat you with unconditional positive regard. Carl Rogers says, whenever clients come to you, that you have to treat them as positively as possible. You cannot react, you cannot judge, you cannot criticize, you cannot tell them they're doing things wrong. You have to receive them and then counsel them from there. Why are you not studying? They're going to tell you it's probably because you have low self esteem. It's probably because you're lacking confidence. It's probably because you have some kind of fear of failure that you feel you won't achieve, and that's stopping you from studying. Or maybe there's just not enough positive people around you. Maybe there's not enough people around you telling you you can do it, trying to encourage you to study more. Okay, so maybe that kind of stuff is at play. Going on to behavioral, Skinner and Watson, classical and operant conditioning. Disorders are probably from a lack of punishment, a lack of reinforcement. Maybe the wrong behaviors were reinforced. Maybe when you acted very bad at school as a youngster, you got a lot of attention. And people at least knew who you were because you were a dirtbag. So maybe that is improper behavior patterns and consequences, learned helplessness, all that kind of stuff can help create, behavior disorders. How do they treat? They use stuff like aversive training, right? You pair a bad behavior with something else that's bad, like a bad smell, and you put those together. So every time you do something bad, you get this bad smell or this bad taste or whatever, and you associate those together. Smoking, right? We want to stop this smoking habit that we have, this addiction, and so they will pair smoking with something that also that you don't like. So it could be putting some kind of bad taste on the cigarette. So when you put it in your mouth, it has a bad taste. Alcohol, put something in the alcohol that makes you sick. Okay, so that is aversive training. Behavior modification. How can we change behaviors? What kind of process can we use? Well, we can change reinforcement and we can change punishments. Okay, but you're probably to treat, you're probably using some kind of reward system, some kind of punishment system, maybe a token economy. Okay, why are you not studying? Well, maybe studying hasn't been rewarded before. Maybe studying hasn't been reinforced. Maybe that's not behaviors that have been conditioned for you. Maybe you've studied previously and failed, and so now you associate studying with failing. Maybe because you failed previously and you haven't been punished, there haven't been consequences. Maybe you don't feel the need to study because if you fail again, there's not going to be any kind of consequence. The last one we'll go over is evolutionary. That's anything with Darwin. That's with your instincts. That's with inherited traits. Most behaviors could be disorders or just general behaviors are a result of like human inherited traits and instincts. Your evolution. Disorder, again, same kind of thing there. Why don't we study? Maybe we live in an environment in which studying is not necessary for survival. Evolutionary is kind of dated now, but that's what it is. Okay, so research methods. You will have an FRQ on research methods. It's guaranteed. Okay, we'll spend time on that moving forward, but pay attention to all your unit two, your research method stuff. Case study, single person, single group, naturalistic observation, observing people in their natural environments without, interference, and then a survey, question response. These are correlational studies. They're looking to identify a correlation between two variables. But listen, they cannot identify causation. They cannot say why something is happening, okay? Why somebody did something. Only experiments are doing that, okay? Correct preparation and passing the AP exam, that is positive correlation. The more you study, the higher your grade is going to be. Not studying and not getting a good grade is also a positive correlation, right? They're both moving in the same direction. Okay. A negative correlation would be the more drugs that you take, the lower your grades are in school. They're moving in opposite directions. Correlation coefficient is a measurable correlation, a number, a data point between two variables. You do it on a graph. Variables, we have independent variables, we have dependent variables, and we have confounding variables. Okay, make sure you get back into your notes and look at those. If we change the independent variable, it will affect the dependent variable. The more you study, the better grades that you get. Okay, what is the independent variable there? The amount of time you study. What is the dependent variable? The grades you get. The more drugs you take, the lower your grades. What's the independent variable? The amount of drugs that you're taking. What's the dependent variable? The grades on your test. Okay, then confounding variables are there at play as well. Maybe it's studying, maybe it's home life, stuff like that. Experiments look to identify the causation. Experiments want causation. Okay, why something happened. Experimental control. You are trying to eliminate all possible confounding variables. Okay, you want to know for sure why something happened. Okay, in order to do that, you've got to eliminate confounding variables. Operational definitions allow for replication, other people to check your work, to replicate your work. You have a single blind, participants don't know, and you have double blind participants and the researcher, the experimenter don't know. There's something called the Hawthorne effect, right? If you go back in your notes, the Hawthorne effect, participants change their behavior because they know they're being watched. If the experiment is on, the impact of caffeine and they're given, some kind of cup to drink, they might behave like they think that they were just, fed caffeine, and they'll act the part, so to speak. Okay. Going on, let's see. Experimenter bias, you want your hypothesis to be right. And so that impacts your actions during the experiment. Maybe that's how you assign people to groups. That's why we need random assignment to eliminate bias. Random grouping. Each participant has an equal chance to either be given the placebo or the independent variable, right? So again, you're trying to eliminate bias. You are randomly grouping. You're randomly giving people the placebo. You're randomly giving people the independent variable. You also have ethical guidelines. We'll get back into that. Your informed consent, your debriefing. Remember FRQ. That is soda, soda, soda. You have to. We'll go over this again. We'll spend an entire day on it, but you have to use the exact words from the prompt. Okay, the exact terms they give you, and then the action words too. The kind of verbs. If they say explain how, blah blah blah, whatever the question is, your response should actually use the word. So like, explain how the case study of Jeannie, blah, blah, blah. Your response should actually have the words. The case study of Jeannie explains the presence of blah, blah, blah. Okay. Maybe it's compare operant conditioning to classical conditioning. You should actually say operant conditioning compares to classical conditioning by blah, blah, blah. So you're using the exact words. Okay. There's a lot to know about research methods. You've got to get back into your notes and go over this kind of stuff. Okay. You want to know, again, positive correlation, both are increasing or both are decreasing. Negative correlation, they're moving in the opposite direction. The closer that correlation coefficient is to 1.00, the higher it is a positive correlation. The closer it is to -1, the stronger the negative correlation is. Okay. There can also be right in the middle, there can be 0, there can be no correlation at all. Okay. Remember, if we change the independent variable, it will affect the dependent variable. Okay. Let's see what else. I think we had pretty much everything there. Operational definition. Yeah. So SOTA. Remember, space and order and define and apply. Okay. So we are trying to do all of this. SOTAs and synonyms as well. Sorry. We are trying to answer it in a very organized manner. Right, you're spacing. Then you're going into the order. They will give you a very detailed question, and they will give you certain terms in certain orders, and they want you to do that. Maybe it's a 2-part. Maybe they want you to explain how something can make sense, something can succeed. We'll answer that. But they also, part 2, they want you to explain how it could fail, how it could not work. Well, do the succeed first, and then do the fail second. Okay. Remember to define all terms you use. They will give you terms, right? So let's say they give you 4 terms. They give you single blind, double blind, Hawthorne effect, experimenter bias. You have to define all of those. Okay. And you are applying them to whatever the prompt will be. Maybe you bring in synonym. Maybe you bring in other terms that can be applied that show you know more than what they just gave you or asked you about. Well, define those. Bring those in if you can and define them. Okay. That's all we have today. So we got 47 minutes down into 19 and a half minutes. Okay. That's it. That's a wrap. Please make sure you watch this, watch it again, maybe even write down some notes, maybe get into your unit 1, unit 2 reviews and highlight stuff that we went over. All right. Thanks.